but I, you know, I don't need it. I got more than money to make it all, so it's gonna be a nice surprise bonus.
Well, you know, it seems like those that are burned to the ground, ash, you just gotta go by whatever records they had before the.
All I got is this.
fire.
Oh, yeah.
So there's nothing left.
It's a PDF, so I'll
Not too much.
transpose
Snap a
this
few
number,
pictures and then you
this
sit down
number,
with them
and
for,
this
you know, a day or two and try to
multiplier.
create a 3D model of the house.
So if anybody has that, that's also these, you know, that are flying like this.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
But you know,
just trying to satisfy the insurance company, cause you're gonna max out that policy.
But it's gonna be a group effort to verify those numbers, cause like I said, it's PDF, so I'm not. I'm double checking 3 times.
well, it's,
So,
I can see the
Enough,
same
I just
mistake
didn't
3
know,
times.
I didn't know where to start, I just like,
That's a good start.
I wanna redo work that's already been done. But my expectation would be that whatever we end up with, we all agree on. All kicks and ties.
Y'all were talking, Tom,
I'm sorry?
y'all was talking, so we received a PDF from them. I've just put these numbers onto an Excel spreadsheet,
okay,
so we can
It's-
look at them together.
it's the same
It's the
thing?
same.
Okay. Well, now I went over what they were supposed to change, and it looked like that was all done, but I didn't go over what they were not supposed to change.
so these two things are identical?
Well, we can do a group exercise, but they're supposed to be. But that's a PDF, so you can't calculate
Right.
without.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll move it to an Excel.
I don't have a mic.
Oh, well, I think we'll have to borrow this.
Okay, yeah, I don't
We
need
had
it right this
trouble
second,
with
but if I can borrow
mine
yours when
today.
we do the secretary thing.
Do what? Where's the wireless?
The board died.
The board died, so Bob's been working for hours, but he just died.
Oh, thank you.
I have just went,
Left too early.
Is that gonna be too big of an expense for you to purchase?
Right, exactly.
I asked him, he said, yeah, you can't afford it. I think they're pretty expensive.
Put it on the agenda then.
He won't even, he told me what he,
Oh, I know, but
yeah.
a lot of good stuff came with the churches.
No, that's an idea.
In fact, there's websites that just for church sound systems.
Hey, Bob, did you hear that?
For lighting and, yeah, because churches are constantly upgrading and swapping out. It's really good deals.
Hey Terry, you see what I bought?
What is this?
Little fan, just in case.
I need to buy you.
Yeah, right, so when it gets hot, I can just,
They put out a lot of air.
actually you can add water to it. And it will make like cool air. It's one of those Arctic air things. It's a
You
little,
can do that with the plug-in ones too, but then you need an ambulance for that.
right, right. Oh, I thought, that'll come in handy.
Just like some flag, erase it the day of the inauguration and put it back down.
You wanna do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what everybody else is doing. Never in the history of the country has the flag been down.
Really?
well, and especially when you're
I
doing a
guess it's
presentation on
an unusual
television.
situation.
Yeah, it is.
But the governors of all the states are basically coming in.
Was,
I mean, but,
is that what Abbott, did he
Yeah.
put a decree?
yeah, I saw that, of course, after
And
it
the
was
US
printed,
House
but,
Yeah, just run down that morning,
Well,
call it up, and then we'll run
you
down
know,
at night.
well, if you're willing to do
Putting
that,
it
that'd be great.
back up is not as simple as raising it like it used to be, that, you know, you gotta get it lined up and the buttons in, and then what I found out when I put it down is I didn't mark where the line for the buttons were. So it took us a while. It's pretty heavy when it's all the way
It's
up.
pretty heavy.
To get it lined
Did it
up. So
take-
next time, if I do it, just take a marks a lot and mark the line up. It takes two people, really.
Okay, the time is 6:30 p.m. Welcome to our Poetry Town Council meeting for a beautiful town of Poetry, Texas on January 16th, 2025. We welcome you and want you to feel heard, valued, informed, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and want minority views as well as majority views to be heard. We also appreciate mutual respect despite opposing view. Your opinions, suggestions, and comments in favor of or against the topic are welcome. However, this town council meeting is not the time to ask questions or for interrogations. We encourage anyone having questions to come either talk to us on the break or after the meeting to email or schedule a meeting with us. At this time, I need to remind the public that a disruption of the meeting may be considered a criminal offense according to Texas Penal Code 3813 and 4205. You must be signed up to speak during the meeting and stay on topic according to state law. To preserve the order and decorum of the meeting, any person who makes profane, slanders, threatening remarks, or becomes disruptive during the meeting will be asked to leave or may be escorted out by a peace officer and given a citation. At this time, Secretary Ann will take roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Blake,
Here.
CM Mike Jaffe,
Here.
actually I should say that, Councilmember Tom Anderson,
Here.
Councilmember Terry Fowler,
Here.
and Councilmember Simeon White.
Here.
And, oh, I don't have you on here, I'm so sorry. And Mayor Tara Sinkovich.
Here. And quorum is confirmed. At this time, Councilmember Simeon White will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Please rise.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you that we are gathered here today in health and in unison, that you've brought us together as a group of your children. I pray that we keep the mentality of being brothers and sisters and treat one another as we would family. That our minds and hearts would be on you and serving our neighbors and serving you through serving our neighbors. Please give us wisdom in our decisions and give us peace with one another. Just continue to bond us closer together and build up the relationships you've started. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Simeon. Okay, under citizen comments, we have a few have signed up. So, Kevin Sinkovich.
Kevin Sinkovich, Poetry Road, or not Poetry Road, 2400 Road, sorry. I just want to take a few minutes to talk on my items with 6 and 7 and then general comments. So I wanted to take a couple of minutes just to basically say how transformative the work that the volunteer road team did on 4Post. You guys allocated the funds, and usually when we're doing roads, we get about 5 tons per trailer, and we're probably lucky to get 2 trailers a month. So we're doing about 10 tons a month on average. In that one single day on 4Post, we were able to get almost 70 tons of asphalt out in that one day. It was amazing. It represented like 14 trailers worth of work, or worth of asphalt. Yeah, 2 a month, that would have been like 7 months worth of work, we got done in one day. It took a road that, in many cases, there wasn't even asphalt and just holes and, made a road, we made road. Could still use some more love, but I think it gets you to the point where, hopefully if you guys can put together a interlocal agreement with Kaufman County, it's all the guys had smiles on their faces for 2 weeks. It was amazing to see the difference in that. I bring that up because on the 6 roads that have the biggest problem we have with the roads right now is the roads are coming in on the sides. The shoulders are, shoulders in some of these roads, especially the 6 roads that are on this one. The shoulders are collapsing. The roads are getting narrower and narrower. People are having to get closer and closer when they're driving head on to one another. We got some shattering in the roads, the shoulders. We got some low spots, and it's just the roads need some love. When you look, and another thing that's real important to note too is when the volunteer road team buys asphalt, we have to buy the chemical mix. And when we would prefer to buy the hot mix, but we're not really set up to do that, so we use what's called the cold mix. And we're paying about 30% more for the cold mix as opposed to the hot mix. So the hot mix is the way you would really, like the Hunt County and some of these guys, they're using the hot mix because the town's getting more asphalt for the work put out. So in the, on agenda item number 6, or I'm sorry, number 7, covering the 6 roads in Hunt County that need the most work. If you do the math work on that, they're definitely using the hot mix. It's somewhere around $82 a ton. I think the interlocal agreement, I could have this wrong, but I think that it's we pay for materials just like you do for the town pays for materials just like we do for the volunteer road team, and Kaufman County does the know-how, the equipment.
Hunt County.
Yeah, Hunt County, I'm sorry, Hunt County. So I just wanted to throw out one more little piece. Here was an example or a couple examples of a little stretch that Hunt County recently did on 2326. This was road that had lost its shoulders. This is road that it was like a roller coaster driving down it. This was road that was shattered and in terrible shape. They come in with a road grader or some sort of asphalt grader, maybe a asphalt maintainer, and they laid the asphalt down, and it's made that road much, much nicer. And so I just wanted to say support the, if you look at what it would take for the volunteer road team to do what they're getting ready to do, it would take 132 trailers, 66 months, and over 5 years for us to be able to do this. And it would actually be more expensive because we'd had to buy the cold mix and they're using the hot mix. I'm excited about this too because even though we don't work on Hunt County, mostly we're just focusing on the Kaufman County, because we were able to do like 4-post and gate lane and improve the citizens drive out of that community or that area to 986. We now can focus on things that you guys have already allocated funds for, which is 249. We still have a lot of shoulder work, and now all of a sudden something that just looked like we had no chance of catching up on shoulders and the work because we're only working 2 trailers a month or 2 work days a month. Now all of a sudden it looks like we got a shot at it, and this one solves a lot of problems on those 6 roads. So I just want to say thank you guys a lot for helping our community on allocating resources to do that, and we appreciate it. Thanks to the volunteer road team. They're amazing, amazing people, and anybody wants to be part of the volunteer road team, they're always welcome to. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Dale Bryant.
Dale Brown. I want to talk about number 4 on the agenda, the new map things, and more a couple of questions is, we see this new map, but are we going to ever see a map showing the work in progress, show us visually where we can see those changes, or is that not available to the public? Because you're changing the city limits, changing things, are you going to have to amend the Articles of Incorporation to reflect those? And if not, then what is the purpose of the new map? If we're going to keep the Articles of Incorporation in the original map with the mentioned meets and bounds, or the points of beginning and end, then what is the purpose of this map? Two, also notice that these maps still haven't reflected all of the ETJ changes. And so when we finally have a map that's going to be published, recorded, or whatever, is that map going to reflect those ETJ changes? And in this context, are we going to get a legal opinion of whether we can make these changes to a map without also changing the recorded documents? Because we're amending boundaries of the city limits and things like that. I would think there would be some kind of document or changes that you would have to make to do that. But I am very glad to see that you're no longer calling this a survey. I see some progress there, calling it a map, which is what it's always been and will never be anything more than a map. And then also just a point on the agreement H18, the roads. Again, not to be real critical, but on the roads that, just a question. If you're city council, mayor of city council, raise your hand if you live on 2326, 2426, 2400, 2432, 2434, or 2458. We might want to take a look at that and maybe look at your appearance. Thank you.
Doug Kendrick?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the time. Thank you for not calling me first, like always. So I'm glad the deck was shuffled tonight. I've taken more time after our conversations that I've brought up in meetings, and again, I just want to stick out there again on the time limits that we have. This time, in trying to prepare for conversations and discussions on some of the items, I did go on website and I did look at the packages, and it's like, you know, I had a brain freeze going like, it's hard for us to get a 3-minute cycle at the beginning of the council meeting when we've got possibly 8 items would like to discuss. You get 3 minutes for each item as a way in the past, but it gives an opportunity. I would just ask again to consider us being able to speak on these items individually like we used to, because it does help the citizens understand more what's going on when y'all have the ability to discuss and communicate with the council and the community. Like I said, I don't have time to try to go into all the items that I would like to make, comments. Although looking at the resolutions that y'all worked hard on and passing through, and I do understand about multiple counties in one city, if you will. Big challenge, and it's understandable. But looking at some of the resolutions that y'all are looking at, I'm not sure of the status if y'all signed them all. It almost appears that the county is going to have more say-so on what the community of Poetry is going to be accepting in subdivisions and things like that. It also looks like the county's going to make the money off of any subdivisions and permits that come through. Just throwing it out there, if there's ever any considerations on if there's a permit fee that Poetry could establish first before we turn it over to the county. But look at that and reading the resolutions, the county is responsible for telling us, it appears, my interpretation of what we're going to be accepting. I know that I'm hoping there's process that you guys can actually look at this stuff and make your comments and stuff. The other thing that I have also been with this experience is anytime there's subdivisions come in, there's always impact fees that are in the cities. I'm not seeing any verbiage.
I'm sorry, your
Yeah.
time is up.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Doug.
Point taken.
Okay, Shelley Smith.
Tight back there. Okay. Uncashed checks. Last month, it was decided that all uncashed checks would be listed in the monthly balance sheet. This is not being done. Checks are missing. Road repairs. Most roads listed are not thoroughfares that have limited local traffic only. The funds should be directed to roads with high traffic first. Part of League Line Road is on the list. However, no indication is noted as to percentages of which roads get more funds than others. Since 1/2 of the entire road budget is being contemplated to be spent, serious consideration of heavily traveled roads should have priority and not be based on how many homes. Interesting that 4 of the roads slated for repair are council's roads. Letters to citizens. Are we picking and choosing which citizens get these threatening letters? Threats which the town has zero ability to enforce. These letters will be a waste of time, money, and effort and are considered accusing a citizen of a criminal activity. These letters are designed to intimidate. They're also inaccurate. The laws included in this packet are they state law, county law? They're intentionally misleading and wholly incorrect. Unsafe lighting. Last meeting, we were forced to exit out the back door since the aisle was blocked intentionally with the unused podium. Upon exit, we had to contend with the mud from the poor drainage and landscaping around the building and had to do this in the pitch dark. Even the parking lot was too dark and unsafe. Still is, I will say. My email to the council was only responded to by the mayor, who stated that the batteries on the solar light burned out. I believe there are standards for public buildings that are not being met. This should have been put on the agenda, and I am shocked that it is not. What was the plan on the map posted on the agenda? I see no indication of land, hundreds, if not thousands of acres that have been removed from the Poetry ETJ. This started over a year ago, and yet not one map reflects that almost half of the ETJ of Poetry has been granted removal. Take a breath. Lack of email response. As I said, my emails are falling on deaf ears. I've sent many emails in the last few months and do not get responses. Now I am limited to the amount of time I can speak to council, and even then, some council members stare rudely at the ceiling while I speak. Again, this new method of trying to shorten the meetings is a poor reflection on the "we want all citizens to be heard" philosophy, and only proves that the council is not here for the citizens, but rather here for themselves. Meetings could be shortened by certain subjects discussed in workshops, and you know what subjects I'm referring to. Since we are not divided into district, every council member represents every citizen, not just the ones that they like or whose opinions they agree with. I fully expect a response each and every time I email each and every one of you. As far as the fires in California, I'm sure y'all have heard about that, and you've probably seen the use of the bulldozers to move cars out of the roadway so that the fire equipment can get to the,
Your time's up.
of course,
Thank you.
rethink the zoning.
That's everybody?
That's everybody. Okay. Items of community interest. We want to give thanks to the volunteer road team who worked December 20th on Four Post Lane, Leland Barnett, Jasmine Barnett, Benjamin Garcia Jr., Kevin Sinkovich, Herbert Fletcher Jr., Zach Lee, myself, Keith Fletcher, Daryl Watson, Trevor Kruger, Mike Tillinghouse, and Sherry Vinson. As the federal law flag code prescribes, the town hall flag will be kept at half staff until January 28th, owing to the passing of President Jimmy Carter. Since this was printed, we have noticed that on the 20th for Inauguration Day, I think Mike has volunteered to raise it for that day, and then it will be lowered again at half staff the next day. Thank you, Mike.
Mike, I'll help you. 'cause
It's a
Randy
two-person.
Sharp is one person. Just let me know when you want to do it.
Thanks to the Christmas Lights Committee members, Bob Bowles, Robin Bowles, Becky Carter, Candy Fletcher, Ann Hamilton, Ray Hiragoen, and Sherry and Brian Vinson, who worked energetically assembling and disassembling decorations and stage. Thank you to the Poetry Baptist Children's Department for providing a live nativity scene, musicians from the Poetry High School worship team, the Pikett family singers, Bree Shin and Sophie Burchette for the fun petting zoo, Abram Smith for being the walking Christmas tree, and Pastor Michael Mumu for being our fabulous narrator. Thank you again to our event sponsors, Burgers and Fries, Honeysuckle Bakery, Chewy's in Terrell, Texas Roadhouse in Terrell, Los Hermanos in Terrell, Matt's Rancheros in Roy City, Poetry Tack and Ag and Poetry, Magnolia Soap and Bath Company in Fate. Moving on to our reports. Under the financial, December end 2024, we have received $12,024.05. Part of that was the Encore Q1 franchise fee. And the sales and use tax revenue, of course. Then we had checks for $4,373.79, and then we had some ACH in the amount of $3,648.51 for an ending balance of $157,715.48.
So to the point, about the unlisted checks, are they gonna start being on here?
So Secretary Teresa, I did discuss it with her, and she's waiting on the auditor's report too, because there's a few of them that haven't been removed and they need to be, so it would be confusing, and so she's waiting on the auditor for that to be finished. So, but it was discussed and we are trying. Okay, so the sales and tax revenue report. You can see that for December 2024, we received the $8,333.01. It allows, the road fund balance is now at $116,483.83. Our general fund balance at $41,231.65. Okay, the Q1, October through December 2024, you can see that we still are waiting any day to receive the biannual FEC franchise fee, so that's why that number is pretty low. We did, in fact, he paid well in advance. I think Dick Demeen from Blackjack paid early, so that was quite nice. It wasn't just on the 10th, you know, he paid like a week early or something. And then, so we are on the franchise fees, solid waste, we're at 51%, which is great for the first quarter. We are at, on our secretary salaries, we're at 17.4. You would think it would be at 25, so we're a little under that. I'm sure with the election cycle, and that's actually a good way to be, and going into the election cycle, they're gonna have to probably work a few more hours. So we, of course, have only paid one preliminary fee for the mapping, so that's only at 1.6% of the total budget allocated there. We had to, of course, initial fees on all the tech stuff. We did that as soon as the new year started, so that one's a little high at 41%, but we covered some annual fees there. Our legal fee, you can see that we are 117% on our legal lawsuit fees, so we have gone over the 5,000, but total is allotted is 16,000, so we're still within the framework there of the total legal. We may need to discuss that though. Then we're still at 39.7% of our capital building expenses there for, and then we are at 8.5% on the, well, we've got, excuse me, that's expenditure on the 6,000, the capital expenditure. Potholes is at 25.4%. Our grounds and building repair janitorial is at 30%. Building utilities is at 19.7% of the budget. So our budget's still looking really, really good. Total expense, we're right at 14.4%. So we're still well under budget on expenditures. Okay, so I was going to give an update on the Texas Department of Agricultural grant application. So the fellow that I was trying to get a hold of, I didn't hear back from him. I will tell you that we received a score of 183. That wasn't the lowest and it wasn't the highest. I'm not sure what that means, and I wasn't some context talking to him. I believe he said you need at least a minimum of 175. But again, because it's all new, I wanted to talk with him, but unfortunately I haven't heard back from him. So, but we'll see. That's all I know. I know that there were a few towns that were scored at 200. I'm not sure what that means and how they achieved that. Then there are other towns that were very low. So we weren't the lowest, we weren't the highest, but we were kind of in the upper echelon of scores. And so it is all new to me, so I'm still learning what that means exactly. So I was hoping to hear back from him, but I'll have to reach out again to him. So that's all I know. The Secretary's memo. Ann Hamilton.
Good evening, everyone. As we begin our first council meeting of the new year, I would like to begin by extending warmest wishes to each of you for a happy new year. I hope everyone enjoyed a restful and joyful holiday season with your loved ones. The new year brings with it an opportunity for fresh starts, renewed energy, and a chance to continue the work we've started together for the betterment of poetry. We look forward to a year of progress, collaboration, and growth for our community. So once again, Happy New Year, and here's to a successful and prosperous 2025 for our town. As a reminder, the official candidate filing period for the upcoming municipal elections is begun. I left that part off. It has begun. So all elected seats in poetry are available for the election this cycle. Those interested in running for office may obtain and submit their election packets as followed. So the start date to pick up the packets was the 15th. The end date will be February 14th at 5 p.m. to submit those packets. The final filing hours, we should be open from 1 to 5 p.m. on February 14th. Just so you know, it has to be in by 5's the deadline. Candidate packets are currently available for pickup at Town Hall, and we're open from Mondays from 1 to 5 and Thursdays 1 to 7 during the election cycle. So you can pick them up here at Town Hall, but you can also go online on our website and you can download the entire packet there as well. This information is also posted on our town bulletin board outside and attached to the front door outside, and can be viewed on our town website at poetrytexas.org. Anyone interested is encouraged to review all requirements and submit their application materials during the specified filing period. And as I already mentioned, beginning January 13th, as recommended during the upcoming election season, the Town of Poetry Hall offices will be open Mondays 1 to 7, in addition to normal hours of Thursdays 1 to 7. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Secretary Ann. Okay, moving on to H, the consent agenda. We have the minutes from December 19th, 2024.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as shown.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Blake, to approve the minutes as written for December 19th. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Moving on to the legal bill. We have a legal bill of $967.50 for December from Nichols, Jackson, Dillard, Hager, and Smith. $591.25 is for the lawsuit. We have a motion to,
Motion to.
All right, I have a question.
okay.
It says
Oh.
amount due and owing to date is $32.79. I didn't understand that. Do we have a past due bill?
No, they always do that, and it's because they always do that. We've paid them, but they haven't reported it.
Okay.
That's from last month's check.
Where it
you
says
signed the
prior
check.
balance, that's not
Yeah,
really.
you sign the
prior.
check. You
Okay.
know that they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they always do that.
Motion to move this to regular agenda, so we
Yeah.
can talk a little bit.
Okay, we have a motion by Jaffe,
I'll second it.
seconded by Fowler, so that we can move this to discuss. All those in favor? And we'll make that item A. Okay, now the regular agenda, item A, open for discussion.
Okay, so you gave us this little table, this is related to this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is kind of an explanation of the spend.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that occurred to me when I was doing this is when our attorney had said, he was spending about $4,000 from last fiscal year and $5,000 the new year, but we're a month behind. So this kind of table will reflect that. So that's why it's kind of, we only spent $2,600 in last fiscal year on the lawsuit, and now we're at 5,500 or so. But it's a simple, I think after I called a longtime city secretary of Lakewood Village, the one that I've referred to before. And the way we have it in our budget, we probably, to simplify it, we should probably just have it a subheading in the future. So have like the 16,000 total and then a subheading, the legal, because then it's easy to change. So we would need to go ahead, we could easily say, hey, we're gonna take money from our regular legal and move it into lawsuit legal, because it is two different line items. But it's, that's what we were today. Now, if we don't know what the appeal might cost, so it's anyone's guess as to, what we need to, how we might need to modify that.
So far during this
Mm-hmm.
budget period, we've spent 6,100
Mm-hmm.
on legal all in, that's
All.
lawsuit and.
Mm-hmm.
and
Everything.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then to Tom's question, looks like their billing and posting and all gets all backed up, cause it goes back several months,
Yeah.
so they don't seem to clear.
It is a little confusion, and I asked Christina, who's the one who sends those, like, do you have to? She's like, it's just the way their system is. And having worked different accounting systems, I understand sometimes you have limitations, so, but, anyway.
But when we approve it here, a check gets mailed during the next cycle, so we should in
Mhm.
theory always be paid up, right? I mean,
Yeah, no,
We've never not paid.
no, we've never not paid. But the last one was, was a pretty significant bill, so.
It's not a big discrepancy, but if you add the two numbers up on Q1, it's 6221.75. And then that chart right here is reporting 6135.25. So there is a discrepancy. So we take that minus 6135.25, $86.50.
Speak into the microphone.
It's a difference of $86.50 between.
And it could be a typo.
Okay.
It could be, simple
Well, let's
typo.
double check that.
Okay.
Well, motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. That was a first, I think. I think I had 4 seconds. So, okay, let's try this again. Motion by Anderson, a second by,
Motion by Simeon.
motion by Simeon, White, and seconded by, who was first? You think Jaffe was first?
I'll do it.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve this bill, legal bill. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to number 1, discuss an update on the prospective Bishop Airfield LLC, the prospective MUD. Councilmember Anderson's been the bulldog on this, so we'll,
Okay.
have
Well, I
him
guess
give
there's,
us
there's
update.
two items that are somewhat new that I'd raised. One is, excuse me, I talked, and I mentioned last time, I talked to, well, and got a letter from the regional TCEQ office, as well as talked to them and talked to the EPA in Dallas. And the EPA in Dallas referred me to, really needed to talk to the liaison or the head person out of Austin with TCEQ. So I called her, she called back, and then she actually sent an email after our last meeting. And so I'll just kind of highlight some of the things that she pointed out, which is, I think, in our favor, is that she said the staff can't begin digging on the owner's property without their consent, which is what we understood. And we'd been told that. Well, still, I said, no, I don't think they can do that, because I read the law. As she said later, she said that you have to have procedures for moving the tank. The first step is establishing contact with the owner, which they found. But she said the legal requirements listed in 30 TAC 334.55 and TCEQ regulatory guidance, RG publication, RG 411, for permanently removing underground storage fuel systems from service when it's located. And I read it, and it's very strict. It's not arbitrary. They have rules they have to follow. The problem now is they're not allowing TCEQ to find the tanks, which I think, in my opinion, is very risky for them, because if they build and come back, they're in for some huge lawsuits. There's plenty of lawyers that'll sue if they find out that there is stuff there. And I'll talk in a minute about another case. So she said right now, this is a woman named Elizabeth Vanderwerken, who's with TCEQ in Austin, and she said right now they're in the process of confirming the tank status, and she did say that may take a while. Stay in contact as we work through it. So, and she told me that too. She said this is not going to be quick, because getting the owners to admit that there's a tank in the ground or anything, because now they only admit that there's vent tubes. Well, and I told her, I said, well, if there's vent tubes and the tanks were removed, then the vent tubes would remove. They'd almost have to be, because they're connected. So the fact that the vent tubes are there is an indication that the tanks are probably there, and she agreed, and she said whatever their process is, they're having to work through it to get the owner to let them dig or do something to find out about the tanks. But she said several times, it's going to take time. It's not going to go fast. So anyway, that's some new information. The second thing to point out is there's something called the Hensley Field. It's an airport built during before World War II. During World War II, there's apparently, and it's in Dallas, and it borders on Grand Prairie, and there's a big development that's been trying to get it in, roughly 1,000 acres and 1,000 homes and retail on this Hensley Field. They're in the same problem as us, is that there's pollution, underground pollution, both from petroleum as well as other things. And so what their solution is right now, because they've been in lawsuits for 10 years, is they're going to have to, on this 1,000 acres, they're going to have to drill 1,000 wells looking for pollutants, hydrocarbons, because of the same as us. So anyway, if you translate that to Bishop Field, then that's 400 and something wells that need to be drilled, one per acre for the 440. But anyway, this has been in the Dallas Morning News, and they've had several articles. The last one was January 8th. So I sent a couple of different emails to the Dallas Morning News, the hot tip line, and I've told them, I'd like to alert them there's something very similar to the Hensley Field issue, and that's out in Hunt County. I described it, 1,700 houses on 440 acres, blah, 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 and it's in our ETJ, and that's why we have a strong interest in it, and that we think, there needs to be action to find out, are the tanks removed, and has there been leakage? And that's going to take some time, and we appreciate them preparing another article in the Dallas Morning News which is a spinoff to the one on Hensley Field, about Bishop Field. Well, I haven't heard back yet from them, but, you know, again, I guess that's gonna take time. So maybe by the time of the next meeting, I'll have heard back from the Dallas Morning News. So I sent it to the people who wrote the article on Hensley Field, and there's been several of them. The last one was January 8th, as well as to the hot tip line, which they have, and it's the same email. So anyway, as soon as I hear something back, well, I'll hopefully report something in the next meeting about that, what the Dallas Morning News will do, because since they wrote this article on the Hensley Field, and we have a very similar situation, I would think that there would be some interest in this. And it's basically Hensley Field, they want to develop it, put in housing, retail, et cetera, on 1,000 acres. It's been in lawsuits basically because of the contention of, same as us, that there's pollution below ground from underground tanks. So those are the two new items that I would just mention. Other than that, I think everything else we've talked about in prior meetings.
Okay.
Now, I'm not aware of the political side, which I guess you are, Tara, of what's happening.
Well, it's been pretty quiet on the political front from that. There's, of course, they just convened in Austin this week. There's I'm keeping abreast with TML and what kind of bills they're following. There's a lot. But the one bill by, I think there's a House Bill 102, or a Senate Bill 102 by Hall, and it basically just requires that a TCO application has to notify the counties. So right now they don't have to. I don't think it has much teeth. It's just basically they have to notify them, just like they do, if they're in our ETJ, they have to notify us, the municipality. Well, I sent it to the Judge Stovall, even though it's in his county. So now this bill would basically require them to be notified as well. So it's not really changing a whole lot. And so I have been working with the Rockwall County mayors. Our meeting got snowstormed out, so we were supposed to have a meeting last week, but we're continuing to meet and try and come up with effective, like David, it was like we had Mr. Billings, Mayor Billings last time. He's kind of spearheading this with a couple of the mayors in Rockwall County, and we're working on how can we be effective in helping our town as other towns, push back on these muds that are just devastating areas. So,
I guess I should have added another part. Elizabeth Vanderwerken said they in Austin, TCQ, are overwhelmed right now because of the legislature just started, and said they testify and have to attend so many meetings, everything that's going on, they have to be there and testify, et cetera. So she said that's one reason that it's going to take them time is they've got to first get through what they need to do with the legislative session that's just starting.
Right, they're going to start with, as he mentioned, with Governor Abbott's priority items will go first, and then, in fact, I received an invitation to March 18th as Mayor's Day or something where we can meet with our legislator, but it's just a one-day, and that's a couple months away, so. But we're working behind the scenes to think, what can we do to affect it? And Mayor Billings actually has a red line bill, but Senator Hall didn't really endorse that one. So, and that one would be very effective, that you have to get the testing. So I think, citizens maybe need to put some pressure on some of our elected officials in the Austin area and say, hey, we want some change, some significant change, that these muds shouldn't have, be able to rule the day on, when they don't even have their officials, their board, they can be 100 miles away. They don't have to live, and that's one of the prospective bills is that they have to be within a 5-mile radius, and that would be a huge, I think, a benefit for the citizens who live in those homes. So there's a I think Senator Hall, from what I understand, he likes to go piecemeal, like put little bills in and get it piecemeal, and then others want to do a huge one bill, but oftentimes those get thrown out. So, but we are working on trying to be effective at the state level. So, all right. Anything else on that?
Well, thank you for your work on that. Mr.
Yeah,
Tom.
thank you, Tom.
Well,
We appreciate it.
it's gonna be a long haul. I mean,
Mhm.
Elizabeth Vanderwerf said
Mhm.
they have to attend an enormous number of committees, subcommittee meetings,
I can imagine.
presentations. It's not just the
Mhm.
final one, and it
Mhm.
takes all their staff. So,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
imagine. But time is not bad, time is good
Time is
for
good.
delay.
Okay, moving on to item number 2. So back in October, I received a letter from a distraught citizen, and she's reaching out, and I won't mention her name, but Mayor Tara, we live at 2440. We have several that frequently create situations. Communication is limited because I do not speak English, but here are a few of our issues. They frequently burn things. He does not regard the burn bans. It makes us nervous. He's burned an entire barn intact to get rid of it at once. It was quite a sight that frightened my kids as we were not home when he did that. They shoot guns over the property lines. My son and I watched them sitting on their back to the property on a turned over bucket, shooting over the fence lines to the neighbor's land. They lied when they said they were not shooting. Then another neighbor chose not to disclose it to him. Anyway, she kind of goes on. They tone it down, but we still hear that. Then she said there's a ton of traffic in and out of the property from both houses. That's not breaking any rules or anything, but it is concerning for them. They don't know what's going on there. But they often played loud music at any time of the day, which I know they're allowed to. Sometimes it is regional, and other neighbors as well as ourselves have parties, but there are times we cannot drown out the music when inside our home, and the bass rattles our entire home for hours. I miss my peaceful country atmosphere. Then she goes on to say, I don't like to complain and love to live in peace with my neighbors. I've never complained about a neighbor before in my life, even in the city. I'm not sure about these guys. And then she says, it used to be so peaceful, but now I feel I have to be on guard all the time. Perhaps if we simply knew ordinances, laws, and regulations, if he simply knew ordinances, laws, regulations, and ethics, it could help and resolve everything. Maybe he just does not know. But he needs someone who speaks Spanish to communicate those things. So, I took this letter, and of course, it was in a really, really busy time, but I just kind of prayed about, okay, so how do we best address this? And this is not the first one. I've had people approach me in person. People have called and said, there's, whether it's noise or guns or various things. And we don't want to ignore those things necessarily. I mean, I feel like one of the mandates of a municipality is the welfare of its citizens. And, the whole mantra is, if men were angels, government wouldn't be necessary. And it's the bad apples that kind of make the laws and rules necessary. But there's already plenty of state laws in place. And if they're breaking them and they don't know them, or the citizens oftentimes, like she didn't want to approach this neighbor for fear of reprisal, right? And she didn't know how to communicate with him. So I thought, how can we be proactive? How can we, in a courteous way, how can we present that to this person, or maybe just the road, so they know, okay, what do we do if X, Y, Z happens? Who can we call? Because a lot of them feel helpless. And they're frustrated with some of these happenings. And so my thought was, how can we facilitate, just informing and being just kind of a resource. Okay, here's the number you call if such and such happens. And of course, first of all, I say, try and talk with them. But if there's a language barrier, or if they're unreasonable, some neighbors I've had that too, where I've had people come talk to me and they'll say, hey, I talked to him, but they're kind of in my face and they're saying they absolutely, want to do whatever the heck they want to do. So, you get all types, but I was just, and so I've talked to Mayor Pro Tem Blake at length about it, and we, I wanted to bring it to council to bounce these ideas off of you. I think Secretary Ann did a good job of making kind of a nice, friendly, courteous letter, but the inserts are the ones that, and I did send them to David, but I hadn't heard back from him. I know a lot of the legalese is confusing for a lot of folks, and they just want the Cliff Notes. So some of it's pretty basic, and Hunt County actually put a notice on this actually is from Hunt County, this burn ban guidelines. And so we took the English version and then did it in Spanish. And then, some of we have two different versions on the firearms. And I know Ann kind of did this section, and then she did another one that thought it might be more simple. And then we have the one for the noise. Did you get that one? Yeah, the Texas laws. And so we did, basically, and I will tell you, this letter itself, I did send it. We have the back page would be in Spanish. I did send it to Waldo Enriquez, who is a chef locally. He is both Spanish and English speaking, and he said it was perfect. So he has also helped us with election guidelines, because those have to be in Spanish and English, and he has helped us with those as well. So now these other documents, I just kind of wanted to bounce that off of you and see if you had any feedback on some of that.
I guess, Tara, just to add, John Stewart, I think it's the same John Stewart that's done work here, had something on the 12th of January. He's drive-by shooting on 2440. He said vehicle driving on County Road 2440 from the direction of County Road 2434, shooting from vehicle, drove past my building towards CR 2446 and CR 2448, continuing to shoot from the vehicle, turned around and headed back towards CR 2434. Vehicle passed my building a second time. A total of 3 rounds hit my building. 2 went through the glass on the doors and 1 went through the front wall. 4th round hit my truck in front of the building. I was working in my shop when this occurred. Could hear more shooting from the vehicles as it headed towards County Road 2434. Yes, police were notified and responded. I don't know what to say about this occurrence, just sharing what happened. And I guess just is adding to what we just discussed. And he posted this on the 13th, it looks like, of January, but he said it happened on Sunday, the 12th of January.
Now, to clarify, it wouldn't probably be the police, it probably was the sheriff's deputies, or, it wouldn't be
Yes.
any police.
It
But
would've
no,
certainly-
and I get, and of course, from that posting, then I got an email, someone saying, did you see this? I'm saying, yes, I saw that. And it is concerning. So, I don't think we want to ignore that, our citizens, and we have citizens who are scared, but I think the approach is very important. We don't have any ordinances in town, but I don't think for this kind of thing, we don't need that. We just need folks to behave according to state law.
Well,
Don't be reckless.
Reading the laws that you sent, that what happened to John Stewart is a felony, not a misdemeanor, because he fired it towards people and it hit a building. So, that's really serious, much more serious than just noise. I guess the other thing I'd add is we were pretty successful with the Poetry Event Center in talking to people, and they apparently backed off. And so, in my view, the first step is to do kind of like what we did with the Poetry Event Center, is be able to talk to people and without having to take it to a higher level. Although what happened to John Stewart is a felony, but they have to catch him.
Right, and that's where empowering the citizens to know what to do, yes, they can call, the sheriff, and that's why in the letter we have the sheriff's number. And I think the difference is in the event center, you have a manager who's who was very agreeable to work with them. In this case, you have someone who, doesn't appear to, doesn't speak any English, may not understand the laws, may not know the laws, may not care about the laws, I don't know. But the people around that area feel, they're reaching out to me, and they're obviously reaching out to social media, like this is a thing, this is happening. And I guess, we as a council, need to decide, how you want to approach this. And so my thought was just a courtesy letter for information purposes, because if he doesn't know, then, it might be other people too. I mean, there was more than one person in the household according to this letter.
Who's this letter gonna be sent to?
Well, in this particular case, maybe all the residents on 2440, so we didn't single out one person, is the thought there. 2440 and around 2440, 2444, and maybe around that area. So, but there's other.
Just send it to one person. Not one person's causing the problem.
Well, the other people who see, he's not going to get caught unless the other people take action, and they may not know what action to take.
I
And
see what you're
so empowering them to know what numbers to call and what they can do. And let them know that their council cares, that we care. We care about, what they're going through.
So there's a couple, there's three main bullet points on here. First thing that we haven't been apprised to is the address, and that's okay, but looking at those stretches of roads in there, they vary from 162 feet deep to 250 feet deep. So we don't know if he's in the city limits or if he's in the county.
Well, it's
Does it
not
matter?
exactly the city's business in any case, because this is state law. I mean, it's the state's business.
If he's burning in
anybody.
the county
Right.
though, and we're sending him a letter, don't burn, that's the
Well-
county's job to enforce.
Well, we're not saying don't
Yeah,
burn,
it's
we're
the
just
state's
giving
law
them
to
state,
enforce the
yeah.
shooting problems. I mean, it's not, this isn't city ordinances either way. I think this is more of a, this is extra credit if we do anything about this, because it's not exactly the town's responsibility to enforce the county's or state's law.
We're just
So breaking
informing.
that down to that way, I mean, there's burning all in this whole community, why wouldn't we send it to everybody to inform them?
Well, they're not the problem
I know.
necessarily,
I don't think there's a large number of people burning whole barns down,
yeah.
Intentionally.
Yeah,
Not intentionally, yeah.
And I have a feeling if they burn down a building, I know people that have done that and haven't had their neighbors complain. I bet it's the shooting of the guns, that if they're shooting across property lines, that is making them reach out.
And I've called the sheriff department at our last address, we actually had the bullets that were tumbling, landing in our back where we park, and the county came out, and those guys are real nice, and they went across there and they told them, hey, your bullets are ricocheting and landing on the other side. There was no tickets made, there was no nothing. I don't know if these people didn't call the sheriff, I mean, why would they not call the sheriff if they felt unsafe?
Well,
Yeah, I don't think Coy or any other, law enforcement's going out there to write a ticket, they're going out there to get compliance and educate, and in that fact it works, so, yeah, I mean, I would definitely advise the citizen to call, the sheriff department, whatever county they live in.
well, and that's kind of why, sending it out to the neighborhood, that specific neighborhood where we've had the complaints.
So
Mr.
there's others than that one complaint?
Well, there's Mr. Stewart and then this lady, and then there's another person involved too. So just, I was thinking, because, I mean, God forbid something worse would happen, and I don't feel like we should stay idly by. I mean, we're not saying it's our ordinance, we're saying, look, hey, if you can call these numbers, you can call the Hunt County Sheriff Dispatch, you can call the Kaufman County Sheriff Dispatch, here's some guidelines. We want to be proactive, we're behind you, this is state law, you may or may not be aware, and it might pique their interest, and then they would actually really look into it. And then those who don't feel like they have any, because I've talked to citizens who, they feel helpless. They really feel helpless, because yeah, we called the sheriff and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Or, who do we call in case of burn ban? Well, there is a number you can call. There's a TCQ number hotline. I didn't know that until I was researching it. It's like, well, that would be helpful. Because, if someone's burning a barn down, that's pretty dangerous,
well,
you know?
in the past, I've had new neighbors didn't know about living in the country, didn't know about burn stuff. And we're all out there putting everybody's pasture out because it got away, because they just didn't know any better or have any kind of guidelines. And I was more thinking about the burning guidelines, that people just don't know, and they don't know, and you should know how fast fire can get away from you. And you'll go by and there's something burning out there and there's nobody around it. And it's like, Lord, please don't have our neighborhood go down because there's nobody there. And I can't, there's a gate there. Oh, I lost on the time.
That's the second time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go through a gate.
Right.
And so
Well, and there
I
was,
guess you help making my point though, it's not restricted to this area.
no,
You don't live in this area.
no, but we've had issues in this area,
well, and there's been other roads we had issues, and so if the council approved a certain wording, maybe, okay, if I have, 3 complaints on one road, then we just, we send it out to that particular road. And there's, the 3 or 4 years, I think it was 3.5 years ago now, there was a 3-alarm fire just out in this field, and a couple had been burning. They thought it was out, but they went and took a nap, and then it flared up again, and it was all over the pasture, and there were like 3 or 4 homes at risk. And there was another fella who was burning on, and this is right, I was watching this, 986. He lighted a fire in a burn barrel, but then left, and that's against the rules. And sure enough, it caught fire in his whole backyard, and it was concerning to the neighbors for sure. So, just a little knowledge of, hey, that's not safe, and like, to your point, they don't really know, so.
So we can't send anything till we hear back from David if
I would definitely say we need to hear from David. But if he's good with this and we're good with this.
So from your standpoint, is there, so we had tried to make it simple, and it's hard to cover legalese and make it simple but correct. So that's why we did, I did send that to him, but a 1 page on the noise levels. Number 2, do you just, now I wanted to ask you which one you prefer. I kind of preferred the first one, not the second version of the firearms, the one that has the blue on it versus the one that it's a little more simplistic.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, Tara, and we talked about this years ago, that people moving out here don't understand is just because you have a piece of property does not allow you, except in the case of personal safety, to fire a gun on it. And in fact, in the state of Texas, you need between 10 and 50 acres to shoot a shotgun, an air rifle, a pistol, or a BB gun. You cannot fire a rifle on less than 50 acres. You cannot by law.
and where's that at?
It's a state law.
22.
And a shotgun as well?
Shotgun, you have to have 10 to 50 acres.
Where,
So we have a lot of people moving out here buying an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres. That's not enough land in the state of Texas to legally start target shooting. You're going to go across. So to me, it's just kind of basic education.
Education,
They
yeah.
they bought a trailer house in 2 acres and they think they got a shooting range, and they don't. That's illegal. And so, and then, my other thought would be, the guy that's getting shot at,
John Stewart?
I wish they'd come do that at my house. I would be ready for them. You got every right to defend yourself. That's a serious crime. When somebody is shooting bullets towards you, you have every right in the state of Texas to protect yourself, including deadly force. So that's not a go in the kitchen. And I've had DPS, and you guys probably have too, in Hunt County, they'll tell you, you need to be able to protect yourself when you live out here. You gotta be able to cover the first 20 minutes or so, because they're a ways off. That's just the reality of it. So either get a baseball bat or a gun or something, but the other stuff, I would be in favor of pushing as much of that to some kind of a cooperative venture with law enforcement. If we get an area, we can overcome the language barrier. That's not a big deal. They speak English when they want to get paid and everything else. We can figure that out. But rather than trying to, I don't know, it feels almost like a homeowners association. We're going to tell them what's right and what's Okay, so this week it's shooting guns, next week maybe it's parking your trailer in the yard or something, I
But
don't
the
know.
difference is, we're just educating, we're not, we have no ability to fine, nor do we want to, we're just educating.
Well, to me, if we're gonna do that, let's do it in the
Mhm.
post, in the little newsletter.
Well,
Let's
I-
do it to every citizen, why wouldn't we
the
want
post
every
isn't in
citizen?
Spanish. I mean, I did include something in the last post, just a little tidbit, but I don't have usually enough room to, to put
Yeah, we
all,
don't-
this is 4
We don't,
pages worth.
we don't, the post doesn't get targeted to an area though.
Yeah, it doesn't. So,
And
to
I'm
an-
not opposed to mailing one out to every person in the town, if that's a budget-wise way to do things, other than targeting areas as they come up.
But I think that's a lot of stamps and a lot of time
Because-
unnecessary. But if you've got a targeted area where things are happening and the citizens are upset, I would think they would want their town to be, apprised and be concerned and, be proactive and at least,
Right, but if
care.
it's in the town of Rockwall, they're not gonna send the mayor or one of the council members, they're gonna send the Rockwall PD.
But we don't have a PD
Right,
and
but
we don't,
have constables and we have,
that take
sheriff's
20, 30
deputies and-
minutes to
I
arrive,
understand,
yeah.
but if it's bad behavior, it's ongoing, so there's not
Mhm.
like a
Yeah.
sense of urgency. It's like, hey, could we get a guy to come out here maybe Saturday afternoon and maybe somebody from the council could be a part of it, but just go talk to the people, and just have a conversation, instead of,
Well, again, do we have a Spanish-speaking interpreter?
I don't know,
Because-
there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in Texas.
Well, there
You
are.
can also
that-
just install a translation app on your smartphone. Everybody's got one.
Hey, we can ask for a
Yeah, I've
bilingual
tried to use
officer,
them.
I'm sure they got plenty of them out there.
Well, so my question actually was, which page did you like?
I'm sorry,
That was,
I don't-
that was my question, and it went
Which
all over the
page
place.
of the letter?
Which page, one of them has blue, well, I don't know if you can see that, but one of them's more simple than the other.
The letter you're talking about?
This is the insert, the one that she
The
sent last night.
I like
The-
version one.
Version 1, the
Yes,
Texas laws
yes.
regarding the use of firearms.
Yes.
and-
Oh, I
Yeah.
see, I
So
see,
there's 2 different versions.
I see.
I like this version better than this version.
Now, that's the cover letter,
I
but
know.
there's inserts that,
No, I,
Okay.
this, I just,
Yeah, there were version 1.
Go
version
bother
2,
Tara,
and
that's
version
all.
well, she's a point of contact. I
Well,
like that version
Yeah.
with her on there, it says,
Uh-huh.
instead
You
of
know,
us.
I
don't care.
know-
Yeah, call it.
okay.
I'll raise a point that just Mike raised, and that is this, we had a guy racing up and down our street. This was 4 or 5 years ago, and he was really racing. And I called Hunt County, and Hunt County sent out one of the deputies and told him, and anyway, well, basically, the Hunt County deputy said, unless he catches him, he can't do anything, but he said he would go talk to him, and so he went over and, I don't know, whatever he said, and then he came back and told me, we are not to go do that. That it should be the job of the Hunt County Sheriff or Constable Office to do that, that they don't want us to get into any kind of a conflict. So, which I hadn't, I'd called him, but, I was concerned about what he was doing, so when he drove into his driveway, I pulled into his driveway so he couldn't back out, and I stayed there until, the sheriff got there. But the sheriff said, we're not to confront anybody, because, and he said a second thing,
It could be
is
done.
he said, if somebody, because we'd had a person try to break into our property, and they try to steal trailers, because that's what they do, steal trailers to get building supplies. They shot 2 of our dogs, of which they both survived, but the sheriff, or deputy sheriff, told me that if they do this, and we can shoot back, but he says, make damn sure it's on your property. And if they aren't, you get them in your property. Those were his words. Is that, but he said, yes, you can do that, but they discourage people from, they want you to call them. They don't want us to get into a confrontation where we have a shootout. And I think this is the case where we send something out like this, and it's got the council's name. I mean, everybody knows who we are. So, and it's a request, kind of like what we did with Poetry Springs. It's not a HOA enforcement. It's really the request and to make them aware. And as a first step, I think this is what we have to do. And you know, if we know the general area, I don't have any problem sending it to, as long as you do to everybody, and as long as we don't get caught in any kind of racial attack, we don't wanna say anything like that.
Right.
So I support the letter with the attachments like this, and just to say, hey, we're requesting that you consider this like we did with Poetry Springs. And then if something else has to happen, well, it has to involve the Hunt County Sheriff. That's my opinion.
Okay.
So anyway, I support it.
Okay, so is there a motion either way?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we accept it like we have it.
Okay, pending the
Second the
legal-
motion.
Okay, so that we have a motion to accept this courtesy letter and inserts, I guess, pending the legal advisement. Seconded by Blake. All those in favor? And all those opposed? Okay, and that passes 3 and 2.
And just for clarification, my preference would be that if it's not a hostile situation, that people have a conversation, and then the second would be law enforcement. That would be my preference.
I
Yeah.
hope that this enables people to do that a little
Yeah.
easier.
I
Yeah,
agree with
I just don't
you.
want us to get into the law enforcement thing. I think we're getting into trouble, because if we get over there and somebody gets shot or beat up. or
Yeah,
off, I
that's
just-
exactly what the sheriff.
So,
we're gonna get-
Constable,
told me.
since you're a law enforcement officer, would you say a word or two about this topic, please, sir?
Don't go over there.
Don't go, it sounds like he
I mean,
is
I'm
difficult,
gonna tell
yeah.
you right now, you go over there as initiating a problem, plain and simple. You just spot it, you report it, you call 911, and you let us handle it from that point on. Do not go over there, do not make an attempt, do not contact, because all you're doing is opening the door for them to think that you're being aggressive, defend themselves. Don't.
Okay.
Same thing as, you know, talking about somebody stealing your property. I know you have a right to defend yourself, but if you walk out of the safety and the sanctity of your home to step outside to prevent somebody from stealing a trailer or a car, you now are no longer safe. You now, it looks like you're initiating a problem instead of let them take it, call your insurance company, call the police, because you step out, you don't know if there's somebody waiting in the bushes or whatever.
Take video and pictures, right?
Call the police.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'd add to it.
Coming into your house, that's something totally different. You're in your house. If they come in your house, you have every right to defend yourself. Plain and
Well,
simple.
and I guess I'd add to that is that when that happened, that the sheriff told me they knew who it was because of their method, and they knew they were druggies. They'd been busted and each one of them had a mile-long record. He told me their names, and I looked them up, and it was Case, and he said, because they're druggies and they have guns, he said they will shoot back, something like what you said. He said, so you don't go out there without expecting them to shoot back.
Okay.
Go out there unless you're looking for a problem. I mean, you need to look at it from the grand jury standpoint of it, because you're gonna get indicted. You stepped out of the sanctity and safety of your home to interact with somebody, they started shooting. Granted, they're there to steal your stuff, but you now left your safety of your home inside locked, well, they can't come in to go outside to face whatever's outside.
Okay, Tom, I'm on the Hunt County grand jury right now, so I'll hear your case. Well, and you know, to add to what he said, the rule I've always gone by is make sure the thing you're about to kill somebody over is worth you going to prison for,
Exactly.
right? Because it may give you satisfaction to kill somebody because they're stealing your truck, but you may go to prison.
Yep.
And so just make sure that pickup's worth going to prison or that, whatever, it's just.
Get in front of
Put
it.
it that way.
Let
What
them
you're
try to run
allowed
you
to do-
down.
Yeah, what you're allowed to do and what you should do are very different,
Totally different.
yeah, be careful.
Okay, we all got a little more educated tonight.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 3. Approving ordinance 2025-0101, ordering the election May 3rd for all council members and mayor at large. So instead of calling a special meeting, because the deadline is the 14th, the day before, or before our meeting, we just wanted to handle it tonight, so. Okay,
This has been scrubbed by David.
he wrote it. So,
Motion to accept.
Second?
okay, we have a motion by Blake, seconded by
Those two.
2 of you, Anderson, we'll give him that. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. number 4, approve the Burkhoff, Hendricks, and Carter Professional Engineers invoice for 9220, which, they had said that it might cost up to $25,000 to discuss project on task 104 for mapping. And to answer some of your comments, this task sheet was merely for the incorporation map to solidify that, to get the seal on it. Some folks have been wanting that seal on it. It was kind of nice to see that. So, and to solidify that, task 105 would be for ETJ petition releases, but this is the baseline. So 9220 sounds awfully nice compared to the 25,000. So he did do a rendering with the point of beginning, point of ending, and then he also did one without, so that and we can have that digitally, so that when we can have our map guy do it probably a lot more economically, because he's one of the most reasonably priced around from what I've seen, and then we could have any size that we need and also have it online. So now I will say this too. For the election, Kaufman County just sent, I just got this, City Secretary Teresa gave it to me. February 8th, we have to have an entity boundary verification. So it's due, like I said, February 8th. So it is important that we, have this solidified. I did ask Chase and Justin were the ones working primarily on this, if anything had changed that would affect any voters, and he said absolutely not. So it was, there was nothing.
How do they know that without seeing the voter list?
Well, he said from the map that they started with to the map that they have here, nothing significant. That's what he said, is nothing significant.
Well, the voter list can change
The
regardless
voter
of
list
this.
can change.
But
what he's
I'm
saying,
getting at is Solella's Road 24, whatever that is.
2432,
They're the one that circled the part that needed to be removed.
right?
So if there's voters that were voting on that, that's changing the vote.
I was told by Lori Solella they couldn't vote, so
no,
I
they're
don't know
not
about
in
any others.
they're not in the town. They're not
I'm
in
just
the
saying
town.
the map's changed. that
Well,
could
The
affect
map,
that.
this map that he's done, he said there was no significant changes there was nothing that changed. This is what he said, no significant changes that would affect any voter.
Yeah, the biggest changes, I think, were in the chart. Like you said, 2430, Lori's Road.
But maybe you
want to
discuss
long,
it with him.
2432, yeah.
32 that was so long
Yeah.
originally.
I don't know how he could say that when you can see the visible difference in the map drawing.
Well, he might not know the voting law. I mean, it took us a while to get our
Right.
head around it. We had to contact Secretary of State and
Sure,
everything.
sure.
Well, I did look at the things that we suggested, Terry and I had gone through changing, and I think everything we suggested was done. I didn't see anything that wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, what I passed out to y'all was an Excel spreadsheet that I put together, and I brought that in hopes that we can all go over and make sure it's correct. So if you'll look at them, it's the track numbers, then the length, which correlates with the coordinate table. The column that says multiplier on there, just to explain that, 1 would represent either left or right side of the road, 2 is a multiplier, would represent both, then the distance. So with this being a PDF, it's a little more difficult to check the numbers. So if you're trying to interpret this, I want to verify the numbers with y'all, but to get the total square footage, it's distance times the multiplier times the length of the road. That's how we get to the square feet, okay? Everybody good on that? That makes sense? So, if y'all wanna take a minute and verify all these, we can take a bathroom break or whatever, cause then I wanna talk about the discrepancies in their numbers and and Excel's numbers, however y'all wanna do it.
So what's the bottom line though, is you came up with, was it 68?
5.7 square miles more. I mean, 5.7 square feet more than what they figured, with the numbers that they provided. So if you combine Hunt County and Kaufman County, it's 109 million. They say it's 104 million, which a total equation is 0.21 square miles more than they reported with their own numbers.
So the square miles you're saying are 3.94 versus 3.73. We're still under the 4,
Well,
according to that?
According to their numbers, so their numbers
Mhm.
could possibly be wrong, but this doesn't take into consideration any of these bubbles on the end of the roads that y'all voted to accept.
So you're saying it's 0.21 more than what he has,
That's
okay.
Which puts us at 3.94 minus the bubbles. Point of beginning, point of
So-
end.
So if I had, had this ahead of time, I could have,
Well, I just did
plugged
this
it in,
this
so,
afternoon, so-
okay. So, yeah, it's a little hard to do that. I mean, I guess we could, I could get my calculator and my
Okay.
spreadsheet, Excel, I have it in
And
my
I can
office
send you
here,
the
and
spreadsheet version
Uh-huh.
where you can see the formulas are extremely easy.
you
but
could send this to me, and then I could
in a
just,
spreadsheet,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
But if y'all can just verify the numbers going through H1 through H31 and K1 through K14, I
Mhm.
mean, it's a simple equal sum.
Verify them from here.
Verify from what they provided us in the coordinates
Mhm.
tables to what I provided y'all.
But we're calling the one that's sacred this one.
The newest version that
Right,
they
the ones they
sent.
sent.
Now, I did notice that, so there's tents on here that are on here, but there's not tents on here. So is this a matter of,
Where do you
Um,
see 10 cents?
well, I mean, they have on all these points, it goes to the two
Okay,
decimal
I didn't
places.
all I used was the call distance that they provided. This is all their data. I
Okay.
didn't provide any new data.
Okay, okay,
Right,
gotcha.
but if they have a value that's .38, you used a value of .38, you typed it in.
That's correct, but there's no decimal
There's no
points. It's
decimal
87,
points on there,
88. All the
okay.
And
call
you're
distance-
using this, you're not using.
So I
this.
wonder, okay, I wonder if they,
Yeah, there could be a rounding error.
the rounding error is what I'm thinking.
That's a big number. It wouldn't take
5.7
much
million?
to-
I mean, it could be. It's something to ask them about before we pay $9,200 or whatever the bill was.
Well, I think we can give them their money, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, they're
Look
gonna
into
stand
it.
behind it, I don't think they're gonna run off on us.
Well, then we still gotta talk about the bubbles. If we're at 3.94 without bubbles.
Well, that would be a question that I would think you would need to take up with them,
Okay.
cause they're more educated on it. We're all still, they would be able to speak to that, I think, better than one of
Yeah,
us.
it's almost like you need to ask them this question.
Yeah.
What,
Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to bring it.
yeah.
So y'all-
No, I
No,
mean,
no,
it's
no,
good to
it's
double
good.
check numbers, but again, it seems like it could be a rounding error, but maybe it's not. So, okay, so we do need to, approve the bill, someone mentioned that, so is there, someone has an,
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve the bill for the $9,220.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake, to pay the bill, and then, all those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, 4-1. All right, that passes. Okay, and so then, do we want to, I appreciate you doing this. Do you want to maybe reach out to Justin and Chase on this?
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
Okay, I think that would be less futile. So, is we could calculate all day long, but we don't know where they came up with all, the numbers, so, but,
Well, I mean, that's obviously how they calculate them, because the differences are minuscule. 2,400 acres versus 2,500 acres, I mean, that's the
Mhm.
numbers.
okay.
I'm contemplating, I'm wondering if I pulled up the O chart numbers, if they align better with the numbers that they produced. But I'll
Okay, yeah, hold them to
ask those
task.
questions.
We want it exactly right, so,
Who's been your main contact point?
I had to reach out for the election stuff. It's been mainly, Chase and Justin.
Actually, Justin's, I don't think he's done it. They're both partners. And Chase is the partner that really is knowledgeable of this, so.
Yeah.
When we
Probably
talked to
Chase.
Justin said, well, you need to refer to Chase, so
Okay.
I think it's better to go straight to Chase.
Okay.
Just take a type them in there.
I mean, I double checked it all.
Yeah, they're all typed in right.
Okay. Well, it's a lot of numbers, and so,
But they don't don't have a total on theirs, right? So they would call distance. But
So
they
it's-
don't total
So
it up. You
Tom,
total it.
so maybe Tom and, like before, Tom and
Terry,
Terry could have like a meeting maybe with them to discuss this?
I mean, we can, it's.
You know,
it-
maybe
it-
just
it's
a
really-
phone meeting
I've really
even?
felt like I've pointed out every flaw in this thing, so
Well,
it's just continuous, guys.
well,
So what's the purpose of dragging somebody else to the meeting?
no, I'm just saying,
That's
let's
fine. Go
have a
ahead and talk
phone
to them.
call and, okay.
And report back, that's
will.
fine with me.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see what, I'd like to have it reported before the next meeting, is
No,
what
I
I'm
will.
saying.
I'll contact
Cause,
them.
because time is of the
next week.
essence here, we've
Right.
gotta get this
Well, I
handled,
can contact them tomorrow and just show them what I've
Okay.
found.
okay?
That'll give them time to answer.
Hopefully we're
Yeah.
getting close.
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, forward progress.
Hey, we have an engineer seal on it, there you go. All right, so moving on.
That's not important, the accuracy's important.
No, it's a seal.
No, it's not.
Well, to some people, the seal's important. All right, okay, now moving on to number 5, discuss the update on the objective road data rating system for refurbishment priority placement. So, we have had a number of people wanting to do an objective, and that's, I know, we discussed this last meeting, and, I wasn't sure I was able to capture all of your comments, but I tried, so, but if you have additional ones, please do let me know. So I did move things around a little bit, and if I left something off, forgive me, please. I did include the urgency special considerations, and I couldn't remember this, the spider cracking, the large sinkholes, and then, the ditches need to be cleaned out. I think some of you, that wasn't part of the number, not part of it. But that is something to be aware of if it does need to happen. Now, interestingly, in this scoring system, it did change the numbers a little bit when I added the urgency, the spider cracking, which I think we discussed in one of the other meetings. The spider cracking is alarming because once that happens and then you have rain and ice go underneath the road, then it shatters the road. And that is a huge concern. So, and that's pretty much what we understand happened on Four Post is it pretty much disintegrated the road, and we don't want that to happen. And there is that spider cracking or shattering, as Kevin referred to, happening on several of these roads, and that's why it is an urgent situation. That's why the 3 is there. And so you can see that 2326 ranks number 1 with 30 points. It did kind of change up some of the numbers. Number 2 is the 2458. Number 3 is with 27 points is a 2434. Number 4 on the ranking, or there's another 5, and that was Green Meadow Lane. Another 4 was Gate Lane. Of course, yeah, Gate Lane is still needing attention. Four Posts now, since Four Posts has been refurbished somewhat, these numbers would change. So that one I would need to revisit and look at, and I didn't do that. So I have on there 2 5s, but that one obviously would probably go a lot less now. So we have a 1 through 6, and then of course 2432 is also number 6. And so I thought it's a pretty I hate to say accurate, but I think it gives us a more objective look at it maybe.
Well, I have to point out, I like it, and I think, but I think we need to start dating these, because this is a living document.
Okay.
It's gonna change
Yeah, it will.
year to year, month to month. So every time we do this, I think both pages need to have a date
Okay.
or version or something that
Okay.
indicates the
I did
changes.
put 125 up here, but I can certainly put
Ah.
an additional something down here, especially since I didn't update Gate Lane.
Well, yeah, I guess I would say the date, month, date, and year, that way we,
Okay.
it can change within a month.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the roads do change, especially with ice storms.
But, but basically, I like it, I think it's a great first start, and I expect with time that, it'll probably be modified some and changed as we learn more, do more, but it's a great start to put some objectivity.
And I did send it to David Monroe,
did you send it to Kelly Lane in Kaufman?
No, I haven't sent it to Kelly Lane. I don't have his email yet. So I told him I would give him a couple weeks to drink from the fire hose of information, and then I'd be bugging him at the end of the
About an
month.
ILA as well.
Yeah, he's going through classes and,
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah.
So what's going on with the subsurface intact? Cause it says no 5, yes 1, then everything on the first page is 3 or 1 instead of 5 and 1, and then it switches to 5 on the second page.
You know, that may be, when I was trying to switch that, I think that might be, let's see, I don't know why that's a 6. So no is 5, yes is 1, so,
So we got about.
oh, yeah, no, it needed a partially in there, that got left off, the partially would be the 3. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Okay?
It's on both
I know we talked
pages.
about the
Yeah.
ditches being cleaned out. Are we gonna include them in this score or not? Because in some instances, the ditches not being cleaned out is the actual cause of the road erosion.
It is, but I think we talked about last time that that would be like kind
Address
of
them separately.
yes,
Yeah.
like it's not refurbishment, but it needs to happen, it can come from road fund, but it's something separate, like,
We,
And when
we
did
did,
they-
we
he's-
did that on 2326 down by Dry Creek.
yeah,
Yeah.
he handled
Yeah.
2 places on.
When do they usually wanna do that? Cause they've told us at times, like summertime they're building roads, is this the time that they wanna do that?
Yes, so if you know any roads that needed, like 249 needs it, but of course, we're still waiting on that, the ILA. So that's the one, that's a road in Kaufman I know needs it, 249 is really bad. And that's probably causing some of that erosion that we see, but, in other areas, I need other eyes.
Do we wanna include the tree trimming on this too, this same request?
I don't think that, correlates to road damage or.
Well, you got the cedar trees that are hanging over the roads and dripping the water on the edges of the road causing erosion. I don't know, I mean, I can just tell you 2430, I mean, you can't pass 2 cars on it because of the
Because
cedar
of the
trees.
No, that, I think we can handle that with a
But do we report
separate
that at the same
request.
time?
Well, yeah, if
You
you,
know what I
if you're
mean?
out looking at ditches, then
Yeah, absolutely,
say we need to get the limbs trimmed.
Yeah, and that would be covered under roads, it wouldn't be maybe refurbishment, but
No,
it
it wouldn't
is
be a
road.
refurbishment,
It
but
is no, it's a need though, if you see it, you know,
and people throw a fit when you trim trees, but,
they do not.
Yeah, they
yeah.
But it looks
When,
really.
when they either smack mirrors, they're gonna be more unhappy, cause mirrors aren't cheap nowadays with all the sensors in them.
So is there anything, I know we discussed it before too, about, the narrowing of the roads and Citizen Kevin spoke on it tonight. Where can we weigh that in here, to really put the importance on that too? Cause you can have the center of the road, for instance, 2430 in the center of it is really a decent road, but the 3 feet on both sides are no longer there.
Well, you know what, that could be under special
good
considerations,
considerations.
and I think you're right, we can add it in there, and
Mhm.
would that be, now, there are some shoulders that are really hazardous now,
Yeah.
can we handle that on just like a pothole repair,
I don't
maybe?
know.
Some of them are, you know, like a pothole repair, but then others are not, it would take a massive amount of asphalt to,
I mean, it is special, but I don't know how you weigh that in there.
maybe hazardous shoulders,
There you go. That'll work.
hazardous shoulders,
Where are you putting it in?
under
Oh.
special considerations.
Okay, the
So
gray.
if they're very hazardous, I mean, we do have a couple, well, more than a couple on 249 that are hazardous and they need to be addressed, and I'm hoping that, we're giving the crew a break right now, but, you know, the weather has been bad, but, it'd be nice to
And they can do
handle some of
70
this.
tons a day now.
New bar.
Woken up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so no, that's a good, any other, like any other things you wanna add to this?
It's a good start, let's try it a couple of rounds and see how it does. And then
Okay.
we'll make-
Yeah, it's a
make
living
amendments.
document.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Alright, thank you, okay.
Can you send this to us, in the Excel spreadsheet? We didn't get this
It didn't
one, right?
come in our package.
No.
Yeah, I apologize, I
That's
was
fine.
at the hospital Monday,
No.
and I meant to get it done, and so I ended up doing it yesterday late, and I just,
We'll just send it
So,
to Bob.
Tara, are you looking for a vote?
huh?
Are you looking for a vote on this?
No.
I don't think we need to vote on this, I just wanted to share with you because we had talked about it last time, but, I appreciate the input and we'll keep refining it, and so let me know if you have any other input, so mainly discussion.
So, but I guess at some point it's gonna become official, so to speak?
Well, that's up to you guys.
Well, I guess I would make the point of, okay, let's make it official, and then
Okay.
we modify it as we go, as long as we can.
Well, and
Note that.
to your point, there have been citizens who have said, hey, we need an objective way, and so to try and do this, if you like it,
Well,
these amendments.
I mean, I think it's even more than citizens. I think it's legally, we need an objective way, so that
Now,
somebody
yeah,
can't accuse us of being biased. I mean, it's an objective thing, like we have seen.
right.
So I make a motion, we accept it like it is, and
Like an
with the idea that it's a living document that's gonna be changing.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake, to accept this objective
Are
road
we-
rating chart.
Are we adding the stuff we talked about tonight to it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
The side roads,
the hazardous
Sides of
shoulders,
roads.
the, correction that Simeon said, the partially needs the 3 on it, and then the date at the bottom.
and then remove ditches from this line, from this sheet, cause it's not
Do you-
applicable to score.
Okay, we can remove
If it's not
it.
applicable to the score,
Are you all in agreement on that?
Either that, or we should add the trees. I mean, if we're putting things that aren't gonna affect the
Okay.
score,
Yeah,
but are
I would add
semi-related.
trees to it, just so if you're out doing the survey,
you can fill it
Well,
out.
then you could fill it
Yeah.
out at the same time, even though it's not part of this.
survey,
I
yeah,
say add trees, but don't have any scoring for ditches or trees.
yeah.
Okay. And the only other thing I thought, once we get our numbers finalized from the engineers, is verify the distance in miles with their data points. Not something that we dropped on a map. I mean, that'll be objective, right?
Mhm.
We have an engineer surveyed that.
Say it again.
So once we get the finalized numbers from Chase and them, we'll be able to fill out the correct
The second column.
Oh, make sure that
second
these are
column,
correct.
the
This
distances.
is mileage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we can vote on the form, but to the point of calling the information on it, I think until we get some of those solidified.
Well, and it's gonna be changing,
Yeah.
a lot of this, so
It
with
is
time.
Yeah, it's a reading document. It's
Right.
gonna be
So I guess I'm just at the point of saying, yeah, let's
the
get us
structure,
something,
the structure
accepted.
anyway. Okay.
and then we move forward.
Okay, so we have a motion by Anderson and a second by Blake to approve the structure of this, objective road rating chart, to try and give a numbers basis for our money spent on our road refurbishment. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 6. So discuss, Hunt County H18 for pothole repair and patch for soft patch. So you noticed last time, I kinda had everything lumped together, and when he sent back, he said, well, really, it's 2 different processes. So, and in the past, we've done pothole repair, and he said, we're gonna need 24 tons of rock to do. And what he means by soft, to do the soft spots, and what he means by that is, he called it sinks cold, and he said it was soft spot, it's like a big hole in the road, and I think one of those is on your road, Terry, 2430, where he was gonna just they dig it up, is the way he described it, and then they put rock down, and then they put the fresh asphalt on top. But it's,
This is H18.
and it takes, yes, the H18, for 11 roads, for $5,500, and it will, it's pothole repair on those roads, and, several of them had these big soft spots that need gravel put down. Of course, he said they scoop it out first, then put gravel, then put the new asphalt on, and that's a different process. And so labor and equipment for completion at no charge, but the 24 tons of rock, new cold or hot asphalt material, and fuel costs as stated was $5,500 for these 11 roads.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jaffe, second by White. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, and then
It's
number.
10 roads, by the way. 2430's on there twice,
Oh, is it?
so it needs to be changed to 10 roads.
We really like 2430.
I guess we do.
That holdover they get, trying to get addressed since the first term.
You were right.
So big, they did put it on there twice.
Coming and going.
You should feel
Right.
privileged there. All right, so correction on that 10 rows, you're right. Okay, so moving on to number 7, we have then, the project H19 for 6 roads, partial refurbishment using 660 tons of new asphalt, for $54,580. So that's quite a big sum. It is refurbishment. I think it's, you know, when I think Kevin showed the picture of the motor grader where the shoulders were just a mess. If you drove 2326 before that happened, and then he's like, yeah, we figured out this new process where we don't have to do the whole road. It costs, you know, quite a bit of money that the Hunt County doesn't have, and we certainly don't have. In this process, they can handle some of the shoulder repair and some of the spider cracks that are very concerning. You know, refurbish the road in a manner that is cost effective, but also, now it's not pretty, but it's cost effective, and it gets the job done, and it will hopefully extend the life of our roads. That road in particular, 2326, is like 22 years old, I believe, 21.
Busy road.
And it is a pass-through road.
Busy road.
It's become a lot more busy than it used to be, and 2400 is a pass-through road, 2326 is a pass-through road now, so it is getting a lot more traffic than it once did. So, that is one of the main roads in town now. So-
Motion to approve.
Second.
I had a question. Is, you know, that the roads are shown in the total, did he, Commissioner Monroe, give you any kind of breakout of how much for each of these roads, or is it just he wanted a blanket?
Well, what Kevin Cook, his foreman, asked me, and David Monroe, asked me to do the painting. He goes,
So that's
Right.
and
done
that's
the
where
ribbon down
I
the
did
side.
the 6 hours of painting and went through, I think, the whole case of paint. In fact, ran out and had to go, and get a couple more cans. But, so that he had more of an idea and wouldn't just be in this, you know, he wanted more of a concrete way to determine it. Now, what I noticed is, when they did this on 2458, this method, I mean, they just kind of gifted us quite a bit of asphalt.
So anyway, he took those markings, added it up, and then came up with 54 or 580. Okay,
Yes, that's my understanding.
okay. Yeah, well,
And to Kevin's point, he said, you know, 660 tons, it's roughly $82 a ton, it is a great price.
yeah.
So,
No,
that
I'm in
means
favor of
it's
it.
less, Yeah.
I just,
No,
was
it's good
wondering about that.
clarification.
okay.
All right, so we have a motion on the table by Jaffe, second by Blake, I believe. All
Mhm.
those in favor? Okay, and that passes unanimously. Okay, right before, well, now I don't know how soon he'll get to it. He wasn't sure either with the weather, but. Okay, number 8, discuss update on 1445 agreements. So Daniel Ray finally sent back, he is the attorney for Hunt County, he sent back his well thought out comments regarding this agreement. And so he put his little, his comments in it and his revisions in it. And then, of course, Mr. Berman says he doesn't have a problem with any of Daniel's changes. He does say that, the only significant revision is the application of the county's road specifications to a new roadways built in the town's ETJ. I'm okay with that change. This, of course, needs to be scheduled for town council approval. So, last time we approved the Kaufman County agreement, was more on, according to what they wanted. This one,
This was the revised Rockwall form.
this
Which-
is the revised Rockwall form, so
Which is the one we like.
this
Yeah.
is the more simple one that we liked. He,
Yeah.
did make some modifications. Is there any discussion on that?
I had no problem with it myself.
I'd make a motion to accept it.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Blake, second by Anderson, to approve the revised Hunt County 1445 agreement. All those in favor? And all those opposed? Okay, and it passes 3-0. required by state law, so